Hey, what is going on, guys? It's DK back at you with another video here to give you guys an early look at the Week 2 NFL main slate. If this is your first time watching, I cover content for daily fantasy sports, NFL, NBA, WNBA, as well as for player prop stuff like prize picks, underdog, parlay play, straight betting. Underdog, they're the sponsor of today's video. You can use the link down below or the code DKDFS for a $1,000 deposit match bonus. Yes, $1,000. Highly recommend it. They have a ton of different props up already for the NFL games next week. And they also have drafts. So check them out, best ball. And again, use that code or the link for first time users. If you do, it really does help support the channel. So greatly appreciate that. And if you guys look for more content, as always, you can check out my Patreon linked in the description. But let's recap everything from this week. And I talked about this on Twitter. I think this is probably my best week ever betting the NFL. Just insane. So real quick, just want to thank you guys for all support. I mean, getting a lot of love on the YouTube videos and on Twitter. So, I mean, we started off on Thursday. Was all over likely. Alt yards, anytime touchdown. Played him in DFS. That worked out in a huge way. Last night, told you guys, was all over Jameson Williams. Captain hinted at that on Twitter. Spoon-fed the timeline at 10x. And then tonight was all over Kyle Juszczyk receiving yards. Recommended a nuke, which I very, very rarely do, 2 to 3 units on his receiving yards, and that easily hit. So really appreciate all the support, guys. Again, it's been wild. The Juszczyk stuff was insane. I mean, in the first half, he was running a ton of routes. I was gonna be so tilted if he missed, but he hit. So, but having some fun there on Twitter for sure. But so. Appreciate it. And as far as the showdown, this was my lineup last night. So one, Jameson Williams, captain. He was only 30% owned, 7% in the captain. Still pretty mad about Amon-Ra. I basically had the nuts on Thursday and the nuts last night with one like random outlier letdown in both lineups. So Thursday it was the Mark Andrews, like just complete bust. And then last night it was the Amon-Ra St. Brown massive chalk bust. So if I just had a normal Amon-Ra St. Brown game, would have been a huge night, but still super profitable. Tonight did not cash. I did not have Alan Lazard, who fell into the end zone twice, so did not cash tonight in tournaments. But that's a recap of everything, guys. And let's get into the video. So I'm making this video. This is just my first time looking at, I haven't looked at any of the salaries, right? So we're just going to give you guys, seriously, my first look at the Week 2 main slate. Let's take a look at the odds first, and then we can get into the breakdown. So we got Raiders, Ravens, 41.5 over under. Ravens, 9.5-point favorites. Saints and Cowboys, 45.5 over under. The Cowboys are 6.5-point favorites. Colts, Packers, 40.5 over under. Colts, 3.5-point favorites. 49ers, Vikings, 45 over under. 49ers, 6.5-point favorites. 39 over under. Yuck. In the Chargers Panthers game, that should be gross. Chargers, 6.5-point favorites. That's wild. I don't think you'll ever see the Chargers be that big of favorites for the rest of the year. Seahawks, Patriots, 38 over under. Gross. Seahawks, 3-point favorites. Bucks, Lions, 51 over under. Lions, 7-point favorites. Rematch there of the playoffs last year. We got Browns and Jags, 41.5 over under. Jags, 3.5-point favorites. Giants, Commanders, another pretty gross game. 44 over under, 2.5-point favorites. The Commanders are. Jets, Titans, 42 over under. The Jets are 4-point favorites. Rams, Cardinals, this one should be fun. 49.5 over under. Cardinals, 1-point favorites. Bengals, Chiefs, another one that should be good. 48 over under. Chiefs, 6-point favorites. Steelers, Broncos rounding out here. Really disgusting one. 36.5 over under. Steelers, 3-point favorites. All right, let's go position by position here. We're going to start off with the quarterback position. So Lamar Jackson at the top at 7.7. We did get news that he didn't practice Monday, but we didn't get a reason why. I think it'll be good to go. Obviously, we'll get the injury report on Wednesday and have a better idea about it. But assume Lamar Jackson's good to go. Obviously, saw what he did last week. On the ground was over 100 yards rushing, I believe. Now, the only downside I will say here is this is a game that Baltimore should be able to win relatively easily. So maybe it's more of a Derrick Henry game. They're playing from ahead and they just ground and pound the big bruiser. Lamar Jackson still has a pretty high ceiling. So no issue if you want to go to him at the top. Again, Mahomes at 7K. You're getting him a little bit discount to Lamar Jackson. A relatively pretty high total game here. So like the upside quite a bit there on Mahomes. Anthony Richardson was, kind of the cash game play last week. And once again, I think he's a pretty good option here at 6.8K, just because how mobile he is and still at a decreased price point. Let's see. Dak, just kind of indifferent on him. I do like my boy Kyler Murray at 6.6. This is a game that against the Rams should be very high scoring. Was really high in that Bills-Cardinals game. I thought that game was going overlooked in week 1. That worked out in a big way. I stacked Josh Allen with Khalil Shakir, but I also included Dalton Kincaid in that, and you guys saw what happened with Kincaid. That was super, super tilting because I saw the snap percentage as well. Kincaid played, I believe it was 90% of the snaps or so, so I think just kind of an outlier bad game there for Kincaid. But yeah, I do like the upside there quite a bit in Kyler Murray. Jared Goff at 6'4". This is a super high total game, so he's in play for that reason. Joe Burrow at 6'3". We'll see about the status of T. Higgins. I would assume that Jamar Chase is going to have a full workload after the weird week 1. Kind of just a weird game in general there for the Bengals. But if T. Higgins is back and you get a full and you get Jamar Chase is going to play the full game, then that would boost the appeal there of Joe Burrow. We saw Jaden Daniels have a really solid fantasy score or fantasy game, I guess. He rushed 16 times. 16 times. In week 1. So similar to Anthony Richardson of he provides that very high floor because of how mobile he is. Let's see what else. Stafford at 6K in a game that should be very high scoring. We saw the Rams kind of air it out. Cooper Kupp had 14 catches, right? So yeah, Stafford I think is a reasonable player in the mid-range. Baker Mayfield I think was going to get some ownership. He had a really big game week 1. We know, he's got guys you can pair him with as well, with Godwin and with Mike Evans. But I do like Baker Mayfield there for cheap. Let's see. Herbert is fine, but again, that game should be very low scoring. Sean Watson, he looked horrific out there. We'll keep an eye on the status of Russell Wilson. If Russell Wilson's out, Justin Fields would once again be a viable value option. 14 rush attempts for 57 yards. Again, kind of similar to what we talked about there with Anthony Richardson and with Jaden Daniels. Anything else? Daniel Jones looked horrific. He's really cheap, kind of just a dart throw in tournaments. Maybe he can bounce back against Washington. Sam Darnold looked really good out there. However, this is not really the best matchup against San Francisco. All right, let's move on to the running back position. Okay, so running back, McCaffrey, we'll keep an eye on the news here. Because if McCaffrey is once again out, then you get Jordan Mason at 5.2K. It's going to look like a really good, probably one of the best values on the slate. Mason was not a true bell cow, but got a majority of the carries. You did see Deebo Samuel mix in for some carries. I bet Deebo Samuel over 4.5 rush attempts after he got the CMC news. I thought that was an error line. I think Deebo finished 8 or 9 rush attempts, so that easily cashed. But yeah, if CMC's out, Mason looks amazing. Jonathan Taylor at 7.7. Didn't have the best game last game, but they were playing from behind. This is a game that you would think with Jordan Love most likely not playing, that they should be playing from ahead. And if that's the case, you should get a lot of carries here for Jonathan Taylor. Breece Hall, I saw a stat that he played the first, where was it? He played 43 of the first 44 snaps. Yeah. Over the first 43 plays, Breece Hall, 42 snaps, Braylon Allen, 1 snap. So Breece Hall, just a bell cow back, is involved in the passing game as well. Yeah, I think he's a very, very safe play. Scrolling down a little bit more, you got Kamara was out there a ton. You did see Jamal Williams get some work there in the second half, but that was just because the game was out of hand. The positive with Alvin Kamara is, again, he's super involved in the passing game. And again, he's going to get a lot of carries on the ground too. Downside is not really the best matchup. Plus, the Saints, we know they control. Taysom Hill comes in near the goal line as well. It's always so tilting. I recommended Kamara for cash. I faded him in tournaments. I feel like whenever I play Alvin Kamara, they always bring in Taysom Hill near the goal line. Isaiah Pacheco at 6.9K. He played a vast majority of the snaps in week 1. Would assume similar workload week 2. Maybe P. Ryan mixes in a little bit more, but reasonable price point here. I think he stands out as one of the better plays in the mid-range. You could say the same thing about Kyron Williams. The Rams just trolled. Everyone was worried, is Blake Corum going to take some snaps away from Kyron Williams? I was like, my breakdown was I wasn't really sure. I think it could go a few different ways. And the Rams came out and played Ronnie Rivers as the backup running back. But yeah, Kyron Williams played a vast majority of the snaps, is involved in the passing game. If he gets similar snaps to week 1, he also looks great. Derrick Henry didn't have the best week 1 game, but again, that was a negative game script. This should be a positive game script. They're big favorites here against the Raiders. So you really want to target Derrick Henry in positive game script situations. And this should be a positive game script situation for the Ravens. So would not be surprised if Derrick Henry gets like 25 carries here. Another guy that looks very good there in the mid-range. The Lions backs, obviously with Montgomery and Gibbs both firmly in play, but they're going to kind of split the workload there. Montgomery a little bit more of the early down work. Gibbs a little bit more involved in the passing down situations. Josh Jacobs played a vast majority of the snaps there for Green Bay at running back. I think he's another interesting option. James Conner had a nice game, 16 carries on the ground. He was also involved in the passing game. Like I said, this is a game that expected to be very high scoring as well. We'll keep an eye on the Ken Walker news. I think he'll be good to go. Obviously, if he misses, we could look to Zach Charbonnet as viable value. But if Ken Walker is in, he got a vast majority of the snaps of running back too. So he's going to look good if he's fully healthy. Rachaad White, did get a good amount of work, but Bucky Irvin was way more productive with his touches. So this is something that I think, as the year goes on, it's probably going to be closer to a 50-50 split. Maybe through the first few weeks, it'll still be Rachaad White being the RB1, but I would not be surprised if Bucky Irvin continues to eat into the workload there. Ramondre Stevenson at 6.2K. I was a little bit unsure of what the snaps are going to look like for running back for the Patriots with Antonio Gibson there, but Stevenson, another bell cow. It feels like a lot of backs were like bell cows in week one. 25 carries is wild for Ramondre Stevenson, so another back in the mid-range I think looks pretty good. Aaron Jones at 6-1, don't love the matchup there. Plus, you did have Ty Chandler kind of mix in there. Let's see. The Titans, Pollard got more of the snaps, but they did say they want to get Tajay Spears a bit more involved. I do think Jerome Ford's in for a nice bounce back. He played a majority of the snaps running back for Cleveland with no Nick Chubb, is involved in the passing game. So, Cleveland offense is horrific, but if they can actually put up some points, Jerome Ford, I think would look pretty good there. Cowboys probably going to stay away from the backs there. What else? Devin Singletary, I think, is an okay contrarian play. Played about, I think it was around 70% of the snaps. You did have Tracy kind of mix in, Eric Gray mix in, but still, he got a majority of the snaps. Zamir White, just kind of hard to go there. The Raiders said they're going to go with the hot hand as well. Probably it. Again, we mentioned Mason. If there's no CMC, again, I think he's probably your best value on the board. All right, so we're on the wide receiver position. So, top end guys, we got CeeDee Lamb, we got Jamar Jefferson, Amon-Ra, Jamar Chase, Cooper Kupp, Mike Evans. I think factoring in Sally here, Cooper Kupp probably is going to be the most popular. I think it's for good reason. Puka Nacua on the IR. He had 14 catches, 21 targets, and this is a game that is projected to be very high scoring. So Cooper Kupp looks amazing. I think if Jamar Chase has a full workload, he looks really good. Interesting bounce back candidate would be the Sun God, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Obviously, I was all over Jameson Williams, but Amon-Ra St. Brown was a very big letdown. One of his worst games, I think, of his career. I think this is a very nice bounce back spot for him in a game that's over 50 over under. What else? Garrett Wilson should get peppered with targets. Marvin Harrison Jr., another interesting contrarian play. Did get a majority of the snaps at wide receiver, but I think he only had one catch, I want to say. One catch and 3 targets. So what I really like about week 2 for DFS is a lot of overreactions to what happened in week 1. If you can find some guys that kind of underperform, but maybe the opportunities are still there, that's where, you can have a lot of success. So even though Marvin Harrison Jr. was let down week 1, don't necessarily think it means he's going to be let down week 2. Debo, if CMC's in, he's just fine. If CMC's out, though, Debo is basically the backup running back. And he's going to get carries, and he's going to get involved in the passing game, so he would look way better. I think Rashee Rice is one of the best plays in the mid-range. I was all over him on the showdown opener, and I really like him once again. Clear wide receiver 1, getting get peppered with targets. 7 catches, 9 targets, over 100 yards. Yeah, I think Rashee Rice looks amazing here. What else? Scrolling down a little bit more. Zay Flowers, another guy that's going to get peppered with targets. Reasonable price point. But again, this is a game that Baltimore's pretty big favorites. I could see a lot of, ground and pound, the run game there in the second half. Xavier Worthy, we'll keep an eye on the status of Hollywood Brown. If Hollywood Brown is out once again, I feel way better about the status of Xavier Worthy, who played a majority of the snaps and has the big play upside. We saw it week 1 there. Godwin, this thing is a very safe option. Jaden Reed had a huge week as well. 2 big plays. The only downside I will say is, again, the Packers did rotate receivers, as kind of expected. But Reed still has a very high ceiling. And we'll keep an eye on the status of T. Higgins. If he is out, then Andre Yashovas becomes a really good play. I believe he played 100% of snaps or close to 100%. I'll have to go back and look. But 3.8K Yashovas is still very underpriced if there is no T. Higgins. So he would look like a great value play there. Malik Neighbors, I think, is still underpriced. He was the clear wide receiver 1. It was him and Wendell Robinson, but Neighbors has the higher ceiling. Robinson's running more of the short A-dot stuff. So even though quarterback play is questionable, I'll still have the upside there on Neighbors. Let's see. Scrolling through a little bit more. Jags receivers, I think, are all reasonable. The Jags really didn't rotate their receivers. So, and we saw it last year. So, like Kirk, Thomas, Gabe Davis, they're going to play majority of the game. That is a positive there. What else? Keep an eye on the status of Jordan Addison from Minnesota. Could have some value there with the secondary receivers if he is out. Guys like Naylor and Powell, both pretty cheap. Obviously, again, not really the best spot, but those guys would be for increased snaps if he is out. What else? The Chargers receivers. So again, this game turned out to be pretty gross, but Ladd, McConkey, some of that I drafted one season long team. I got him for cheap. 5 catches and 7 targets. Josh Palmer is a bit disappointing, but he was still out there for majority of the game. So both the Chargers receivers, the top 2, I think are decent values here. Greg Dortch played a majority of the snaps in the slot. 6 catches and 8 targets of 47 yards. That's where Greg Dortch is, right? The short A-dot stuff. Kind of like the Wendell Robinson-esque type player. So, solid value in a game that, again, should be very, very high scoring. Same thing, again, Wendell Robinson, right? 6 catches, 12 targets. So we know the Giants want to give him the ball. Similar play to Dortch. A.D. Mitchell, I think, is an interesting contrarian play. He should have had 2 touchdowns. A-Rich missed him on 2 long balls. So a guy that is running the deep routes, like his upside for tournaments. We mentioned Yeshovas. What else? And my computer's freezing up. No surprise. McMillan. So McMillan, 3.6K, was out there for a good chunk of the game. He caught a touchdown. Another viable punt play. All right, let's finish it up here with tight end. So tight end at the top, Sam Laporta, 6.3K. Just an okay game, 4 catches on 5 targets for 45 yards. Again, it was Jameson Williams that had the big game receiving, and then it was a lot of the running backs as well. Travis Kelce is at 6.2K. Again, didn't have the best game week 1. I think he's, getting up there in age. He's not going to be as productive as he has been in years past, but he's still going to be a solid play. So, if you want to spend up for Kelce there, that's reasonable. McBride played a majority of the game for the Cardinals. We know George Kittle's out there a ton for the 49ers. It's just they have a very balanced attack. Evan Ingram kind of was a surprise bust. Only 1 catch and 4 targets. Still ran a lot of routes. Still at a reasonable price point. We'll keep an eye on the status of David Njoku. Again, likely was someone that I was really high on week 1 for that showdown. He was unowned and absolutely smashed. Him and Andrews, they're going to run a lot of 2 tight end sets. So they are both in play here with Likely and Andrews. We saw the Chiefs kind of double Andrews a lot, so I wouldn't be super worried about the Andrews letdown. I still think Andrews has a pretty high ceiling, even playing alongside Likely. Jake Ferguson also a little bit banged up. We'll monitor the situation there. Taysom Hill, always in play, right? He's the gadget guy that'll come in. He can catch passes. He can run the ball. He can play some quarterback. What else? The dust of Zach Ertz, played a good chunk of snaps there for Washington. I was lucky. I bet his over receiving yards. And he got there literally in garbage times. That was nice. Green Bay situation. So Tucker Kraft way outsnapped. Luke Musgrave was the clear tight end 1. So Kraft is interesting. But again, with Jordan Love doubtful and with Malik Willis playing quarterback, that is a downgrade. I should have mentioned that with Jaden Reed as well, right? Malik Willis, pretty big downgrade at quarterback. Willis is mobile, but not even close to the passer that Jordan Love is. So that definitely downgrade the Packers receivers. Again, I should have mentioned that with Jaden Reed. Let's see. What else? I do like Kobe Parkinson. He played the Tyler Higbee role. I bet it's over 2.5 receptions. Dak Cash, I believe, in the first quarter. Was out there a ton. We know the Rams really just don't rotate guys. So Parkinson, I think, is solid. And then we should also mention some cheap receivers for the Rams. So with Puka Nacua on the IR, you're going to get Demarcus Robinson kind of operating as a wide receiver 2. I like him for value. And then it was surprisingly Tyler Johnson that was the wide receiver 3, which really surprised me. Because if you guys played preseason DFS, it was Whittington and Xavier Smith clearly outplayed Tyler Johnson. But the Rams went to Tyler Johnson as the wide receiver 3 over Tutu Atwell even once Puka Nacua went down. So that just did surprise me. But yeah, I'm expecting Kupp clear wide receiver 1, then Demarcus Robinson, then Tyler Johnson. So both Robinson and Johnson firmly in play here for value. What else? I think that's probably it. Like I said, we'll keep an eye on the news there. Like Njoku. Let's go to Cleveland. So if he's out, like maybe Atkins could be a viable punt play. And then Ferguson. If Ferguson's out, you could look to Stevens maybe. If he's available, if he's out, then it would probably be Schumacher. That would be the tight end 1 in that scenario. So I'll keep an eye on the news there. But like I said, guys, this is an early look. I'm making this video Monday night. So this is my first time looking at the slate. But yeah, that's going to do it for the video. As always, if you do enjoy, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. I'll have a Thursday night video up probably Wednesday. So keep an eye out for that. Good luck, and really appreciate all the support as always. And we'll see you all in the next video.